Hi guys, I hope you're all well. Pavi is back with another quick video. I couldn't let this season pass without talking about the ATP Tennis awards which I've long said I personally believe that they are corrupt awards. I'm not really sure about the merits of how some categories are awarded, and I believe that the winners of these categories are sometimes used as part of a piece of propaganda to push a certain narrative, and the awards are kind of to complement that narrative and also to appease sponsors who also look very closely at the awards and like to see the players that they sponsor win awards as well, as it feels that it makes them feel kind of loved and kind of liked by the rest of the industry as well as themselves. So the couple of awards that I want to talk about, I'm going to go straight into it, is the ATP Fans Favourite Player of the Year. Now, from 2003 to 2022, this was won consecutively 19 years by Roger Federer, which is unprecedented, really. It really is. Just for one single player to win that award, he was given it 19 times. But in Roger Federer's defense, you can say, okay, well, he was a popular player. You know, he had a huge amount of advertising and positive propaganda, and he was backed primarily during those times, and they plow in a lot into investment. So you think fair play. But the last three, so 2023, 2024 and 2025, the ATP have given their fans' most popular, most favourite player to Yannick Sinner. Now, if we go back to 2023, this was when Yannick Sinner was kind of in and around the top 10. If you look at his Grand Slam results in 2023, they weren't particularly good. I've seen him in Wimbledon. There wasn't a huge amount of knowledge about him from fans outside of Italian fans. In my knowledge, there wasn't really a huge buzz, so I was quite surprised that he won that in 2023. I was also very surprised in 2023 when the Coach of the Year award went to Darren Cahill and Simone Vagnozzi, who are Yannick Sinner's coaches, ahead of Goran Ivanisevic. Now, 2023, as most of you remember it, is when Novak Djokovic won 3 of the 4 Grand Slams. He won the ATP Tour Finals without losing a match. He finished the world #1. The only the Grand Slam that he didn't win, he was a runner-up in. So, you know, it's just absolutely astonishing that Goran Ivanisevic did not give that award. And that award was given to Yannick Sinner's coaches, who also won the ATP Most Favourite Player of the Year. Now, last year was the year where we finally learned, because they kept it quiet for so long, that Yannick Sinner had failed 2 separate drug tests for failing a performance-enhancing substance. You know, you'd seen all the fans, you'd heard them speak about the US Open. It was very, very frosty. This isn't just me and, you know, what other people think are just people that are worried about what, you know, being a competitor to Djokovic, which is complete bollocks. This was all fans from all over the world, you know, all over the world were not sure about this, but they gave him that award then as well. 2024, the ATP decided he was the most popular player on the whole of the tour, despite failing 2 drug tests. To cap it off this year, when he serves a 3-month ban, so he wasn't allowed to play tennis in any form for 3 months. He accepted that he had committed some anti-doping violations. He took a 3-month ban, and they still gave him this award. Now, you know, for me, I just find that really, really strange, because when you look at this, you look at the figures in terms of social media, and you look at other players, and you look at Novak Djokovic, and you think he's got 10 times as many followers, more than 10 times than Yannick Sinner has. And then some will say, oh, well, you know, they haven't, the fans didn't vote and they didn't do this. You know, everyone kind of knows, I know that the Noel fam are probably one of the most resourceful sets of tennis fans that there's ever been. And, you know, I know plenty that have gone onto the website, and there was plenty of campaigns for him to try and win that award. So I don't believe that's the case. but it was given to Yannick Sinner. Now, if it wasn't going to give him to Novak Djokovic, you have a look at someone else. You look at Carlos Alcaraz. He's got more social media followers than all platforms than Yannick Sinner. One of the most popular players. You know, you go to tennis events. I go to tennis events. There's a big buzz around Carlos Alcaraz. You don't get that for Yannick Sinner unless he's in his home patch in Italy. But they gave it to Yannick Sinner. So I'm thinking, what is the reasoning behind this? And the only reasoning is that I feel that the ATP feel in some way that they're not sure about how fans feel about Yannick Sinner pretty much being let off by failing 2 drug tests. They kept it quiet for a number of months. And then they allowed him to take a ban in between Grand Slams, so he didn't miss a single Grand Slam. And I think that by giving the fans award, it kind of sends a message that everything is forgiven. You know, the fans love him, so let's move on. You know, that is my thinking of why they want to give this result. This result is never detailed. Like, they will never say this was who was first, who was second, who was third, where were the number of votes, this was the percentage, who voted on the website, who voted on a different way, how did the votes come through. No, none of that. It's just disclose the winner. That's it. So I think there's huge red flags about that. And none of the media, of course, will ask these difficult questions because they're all part of the same unit that I famously call the establishment and, you know, regime, whatever you want to call it. So I find that red flags with Yannick Sinner winning that award for the 3rd consecutive time. And I feel that it's possibly been done to push forward some propaganda. Now, very interestingly, a few months ago, some of the Italian media, some of the main Italian media came out and they were speaking a little bit against Yannick Sinner. You know, and this is a guy who they supported massively. You know, that you got to see the Pope. He's lauded as a hero. They turned him in a few months ago. Now, I'm not sure whether some journalists looked into the case a little bit more detail or found some stuff and they thought, not sure about this case. And when he decided that he didn't want to represent Italy in the Davis Cup, after he'd played exhibitions and, you know, he's had a 3-month break, so he can't say he was already burnt out. And the Davis Cup finals happening in Italy. I think a lot of the Italian media turned their back on him and thought, you know, this isn't really someone that we want to promote as a role model and you know, an inspiration to children. So that's understandable. Now, what's really fascinating is that the Gazzetta dello Sport, which is the biggest and #1 sports publication in Italy, have an annual award where they give their Italian, who they felt was their athlete of the year. Italy obviously do very well in tennis, so a lot of tennis players. Now, a lot of people would think Yannick Sinner's going to win this. He's won 2 Grand Slams, finished world #2, and you know, he's obviously going to be given that award. Now, they snubbed him. And they gave it to Lorenzo Musetti. Musetti didn't win any major titles. His biggest achievement was getting to the top 10. He didn't play in the Davis Cup, a bit like Sinner, but they gave it to Musetti, you know, for kind of breaking into the top 10. But it was a big snub on Yannick Sinner. So it just shows that his own countrymen are now almost kind of turning against him and thought, yeah, it doesn't feel right for us to give someone an award who's failed a drugs test. And I have to applaud Italian media for taking that stance. It was something that L'Oreal did as well earlier this year. They took Yannick Sinner out of the nomination, which he was initially in, for World Athlete Sportsman of the Year, and they felt that it wasn't appropriate because he had just served a ban for anti-doping, and you know, it wouldn't have looked very good on the optics there. So when other kind of global and European and his own country are turning against Yannick Sinner in awards, why are the ATP still persisting on giving Yannick Sinner this award? Now, yesterday we were announced that the ITF, the International Tennis Federation, they give their annual awards, and they give a tennis award to who they feel is their world champion of the year. Now, this kind of encapsulates the season that they had, but also the kind of conduct that that player particularly does. They gave this to Yannick Sinner, the 2nd year on the trot. So Yannick Sinner didn't even finish as the world #1. it was Carlos Alcaraz. Carlos Alcaraz on paper had a stronger season than Yannick Sinner and a much better head-to-head as well. But they decided to give this award to Yannick Sinner in the same year that he served a 3-month ban for having clostebol, which is a form of an anabolic steroid, in his system, which detected 2 times on 2 separate tests taken 10 days apart. Now, I, for the life of me, cannot understand this, but then I think, is this all one happy family? You just have to look at who funds the ITIA. It includes the ATP, but it also includes the ITF. So are these people kind of all getting together, all colluding to try and push this message forward that everyone's forgotten about what Yannick Sinner's done and it's time to move on? It may work with a lot of tennis fans. It may wash with them. It's not going to wash with me. And I don't care if any of the media are saying this or not. They're not going to say this because they will not get their job opportunities at Tennis Channel. They will not get their accreditations at tennis events. And I would much rather be truthful and call things as they are. And I will say that these awards are very, very questionable, particularly this year, in a year that Yannick Sinner served a 3-month doping ban to be awarded these prestigious awards in the ATP and the ITF. So that is my rant over. I hope people can kind of see what's happening here. It's been something that I'm going to keep speaking up about, and I think more and more people are waking up, and I don't think it's going to be long before we will know on a wide scale how big and embedded the corruption has been within tennis, and it's likely to be recorded as being systemically corrupt. But that is something to look forward to next year. But I just wanted to have my piece on the awards. I just am baffled, but at the same time I'm not surprised, having seen Roger Federer win the ATP Sportsmanship of the Year for 13 years. Rafa Nadal won it for 5 years. There was a point where for 20 years only 2 players from the whole of the ATP were deemed worthy enough to win that award, and it was the establishment's favourites, Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. So we can see where these awards are going and how they are shaping and who they are shaping for. So let me have your thoughts on that. If you agree, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. But, I'm sure we can all agree that, very, very strange, because even some Yannick Sinner fans have said, I'm not sure he should have won it this year, but we'll take it. Anyway, I hope you guys are all well and looking after yourself. God bless you all, and I'll be back with some more content, some more videos and analysis very soon. If you're not already doing so, make sure you like, share and subscribe on my YouTube channel. Take care, guys. See you soon. Bye.